by Socrates, you have a kind of question about the nature of something. Socrates tried, tried to ask questions and to reject the answers and with another question. And the debate will continue until the person knows a lot of things about the matter. For example, justice. For example, about the piety, for example. Therefore, it is very important. Therefore, it is our mind to have a good knowledge about the matter. After that, real philosophy is in pre-Socratic philosophy. For example, Parmenides. Not نه همینجا میشه باشه. And after that, by epistemology, we went to another position in philosophy. It's about the quality of understanding, of knowledge, and what is the relation between our knowledge and reality, how we know about reality. But in pre-Socrates, there is no question about this matter. They say that what is the origins of the world? Without any question about epistemology. Because of that, we have a good transition from pre-Socrates to Plato and Aristotle. And it is very important. But all what is, because it is important for this lesson, but what is important for them to explain the reality by my mind. But we explain the reality, as we said, about the categories in Aristotle. In categories, bodies, and also animals and plants and something like this. We said that substances, categories, accidents, all of this. This is a kind of our knowledge, but this knowledge say real about reality in the world. What is real world? By my knowledge, it is, for example, we have some categories and something like this. This is was very important. As you know, there are these two philosophers are very important. One, the most important philosophers in the history of Western philosophy. And in some explanation, somebody said that there are in Western philosophy, we go from Plato to Aristotle, and we come back to Plato. Plato, Aristotle, Aristotle, Plato. All the philosophers after Plato and Aristotle are the philosophers who have Aristotelian approach or Plato, the approach of Plato. Somebody said, but it has some development in the history of philosophy. After the Aristotle, you gave your question. We are going to continue the history of philosophy. After Aristotle, there were a lot of philosophers, but not so much important. The most important one was Platon, Aflatun. And he has another kind of understanding, but it is not so much important because we want to go in the modern Western philosophy.
Aflatun or Aflutin?
Aflutin, excuse me. Aflutin. Plotinus, yes. After Plato and Aristotle, we had not enough very big philosophical efforts, and I can say that after Plotinus and also Plato, there were not anything in philosophy in Western country. Because of why? Because of Christianity.
Interfered.
Yes. Yeah, not interfered, but Christianity, the faith was more important than than philosophizing. And after that, and also science is the same. And we have a kind of obstacle in front of philosophy to grow up. As you know, Christianity emphasizes on our relation to God and our purification of ourselves about eschatological thoughts and something like this. Therefore, philosophy has no room for Christianity and also science. After this matter, after this time, you have not any work in the world. You have not any work in the world until the until Islam came to in the world. And we had something in Iskandariye in Egypt, yes. It was about sciences and something like this, and a lot of books they gather in a library was very important. But
Flotin was from Iskandariya?
no. Iskandariye is a city was established by Iskandar.
Yes, in Egypt.
In Egypt, yes.
Flotin was from there.
Aflutin, yes, bad, yes. But until the emergence of Islam, we don't have any philosophical activities. And I want to add that any scientific activities. We did not have any scientific activities. After Christianity, as you know, Plato and Aristotle was 200 years before Christianity. And after Christianity, about 7th century, we don't have anything. Yeah. After Islam, in the first century of Islam, there were the Muslims was very eager to know more and more about what is in philosophy, in medicine, and mathematics, and something like this. Therefore, they tried to translate the book of Plato, Aristotle, and the name is the movement of translation. Beitul Hikmah.
And before Beitul Hikmah also.
Yeah. Before, yes. After that, yes. Yeah. نهضت ترجمه. نهضت ترجمه. It is good to translate it in Persian. You have your نهضت ترجمه in Persian. You know the movement of translation. And the Muslims tried to know more about the Greek philosophy, all that, and some philosophers, because of Islam, encourage people to everything about science, to know more and more, and it was very important. But in Christianity, it is not so much important, and perhaps it is forbidden.
In those days.
Yes. Therefore, after Islam, after 1, 2, or 3 centuries after Islam, we have a very good movement in science and philosophy. Muslim philosophers tried to develop the Greek philosophy. For example, the subject of existence, wujud, come to philosophy by Farabi and Avicenna, Islamic philosophy. Therefore, you have a Greek philosophy developed and a lot of things changed in Islamic philosophy.
Islamizing, let's say, the philosophy.
What?
Islamizing
No Islamizing. No, not Islamizing. It was a philosophy, not Islamizing. But this kind of thinking came from the teachings of Islam, but not Islamizing the philosophy. And Islamic philosophy does not mean Islamizing philosophy, because philosophy has no direction to some ideology.
No, man, the philosophy itself was seeking the truth.
The truth.
Seeking the,
Yeah. No, I meant as we took the books of Aristotle and Plato and translated into Arabic.
To Arabic?
So I mean, in this way,
no.
No. It is translated. Yes.
so people
And-
understand that.
And people like Farabi and Avicenna tried to understand and tried to seeking the truth more deeply with some new ideas in philosophy, not new ideas that Islam gave them. Seeking the truth. It was a very important development in philosophy. In Western countries, there is no activities in philosophy. In medieval ages, we don't have this philosophical activities. And I want to add something very important. After Aristotle, after Farabi and Avicenna, the most important book in philosophy was Shifa from Avicenna and the books and the books of Farabi. Was all the books of Farabi. Both of them was the most important new idea, perhaps most important philosophical book. That is, the origin was from Aristotle and Plato. After some centuries, perhaps 2 or 3 centuries, there are a lot of debate among Muslims about philosophy and mysticism, about the Kalam, and also about the Quran and Hadith. But after a long time, the books of Avicenna and Farabi come to Western countries. And Western countries, I want to add, and Western countries knew about Plato and Aristotle through them, through Muslims. By the moment, they didn't have any knowledge about Plato and Aristotle in their countries.
Because the gap of Christians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the European thinkers name this recycling the knowledge.
Recycling the knowledge. Yes. But there are very few
Who accept?
who accept, not who accept.
But they all of them.
No, who accept, who to promote, yes. No. Nobody, yes, no.
There is no way, because it was a big gap. A church at that time pretend that the authority and the knowledge will be at their hands.
Yes.
And they didn't do nothing to promote.
Yes,
to
but
spread.
by the moment by the moment. If you ask Western people, Western philosophers, they try to ignore this matter. That, yes,
But
that,
if they know that you don't let them
yeah.
going
Yeah, of course.
okay, this is natural and this is recycling of knowledge.
Knowledge, yes.
Even Muslims, even non-Muslims take their knowledge from someone else, and those the cultures recycle.
Of course.
They
And they say Islamic philosophy as a branch of medieval philosophy, not a thing that is independent from
independent and original.
an original, yes.
Because the Muslims were very objective. They translated as the thought were, Socratic thought, Aristotelian and Platonic, and after that they said, okay, we have our own
Yeah, of course.
viewpoint of seeking the truth, or seeking the issue of how was the beginning of
The world
the
and
world and so on. And this is original.
Yes,
And
of course.
is
Of course.
original.
And after that, by Avicenna, philosophy came to Europe, and a lot of scholars tried to have an explanation of Avicenna's philosophy. Therefore, because Avicenna is more Aristotelian than Platonic, therefore the most important philosophy in medieval age, about 12th century or like this, was Aristotelian thought, Aristotelian approach. But all of them was based on the teachings of Avicenna. For example, Thomas Aquinas was an Aristotelian, had as an Aristotelian philosophy. And Aristotelian philosophy, or I say Avicennian philosophy, was very important one in the among scholars for about 3 or 4 centuries in all the Europe, and they tried to have some commentator. They tried to be a commentator of Avicenna's philosophy or Aristotelian philosophy. That we changed the church from that position to the new position, the Aristotelian Christianity.
Mixed philosophy.
Yes, yes. And this was a very dominant among the European people. And everybody, as you know about the church on that time, must learn philosophy only through Aristotle, not anything else. I want to say this introduction for what I want to say by this time. But no growth in philosophy. There was some comment on comment, and comment on comment. In about the last years of 16th century, Descartes came to born and came to philosophical movement. He he saw, I want to explain Descartes. He saw that so Descartes is very important because the establishment of modern Western philosophy is based on Descartes. I will say why and what is important in Descartes' philosophy. Descartes saw that there are a lot of debates among philosophers. Nobody accepts the others. A lot of branches of philosophy. Everybody say one thing. And this is a battle of philosophers without any idea, certain knowledge, a good philosophy. And he was a mathematician. Because yes, was a mathematician and was very intelligent in mathematics. He saw in mathematics that, for example, in geometry, if we had a truth in geometry, the truth is one thing that no change, you have no change in it. It is very, and it's one thing, nobody can oppose this truth. For example, if Pythagoras said a hypothesis in geometry, this truth after about 18 centuries was the same as Pythagoras said, and everybody accept that. And it is very important. If you say that the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees, it is a truth. A truth that has no change. And everybody has certainty about it. It is a certain truth. He said, what is philosophy? Philosophy is a lot of debates without any result. But mathematics is very good branch of science, because in mathematics you will say you will reach to very important truth, unchangeable truth, and everybody accept it, and everybody is certain about it. Yes, but what is philosophy? It is a long debate. Descartes said, I must, and also some debate from Platonic, Aristotelian, and some branches of Aristotelian, a lot of schools in the Europe. He tried to give a philosophy, very certain philosophy, and perhaps it can be unchangeable. The last philosophy, he said, we must have a philosophy in mathematical shape. And we try to explain everything like we say the three angles of triangles are equal to 180 degrees. If we had this kind of philosophy, we have total or total certainty. And it was a very good philosophy. He thought some years, and he had some I think some gardens or like this in France near the Paris from his grandmother, and he didn't had any need to work and also to have something for his living, and he tried to think deeply about this project. It is a very important project, no? Very important. If we can have this kind of philosophy, we can have a lot of hypotheses in philosophy that are unchangeable, and the ultimate truth, we can reach to ultimate truth. No? Very important. According to him, yes. It was a very good idea. No? Yeah, a good idea.
Can be acceptable?
And accepted by everybody. And can acceptable by everybody.
Okay, but in reality, can it be?
Don't. No. We are in the Descartes period. Not after that. Yes. We are coming with Descartes to philosophy. You try to be in the Descartes situation. Yes? Not after that. And a kind in the geometrical manner. Philosophy in a geometrical manner. Mathematics and also mathematics. Geometry was very right. Yes. Mathematical or also geometrical. Both of them is set by Descartes. Are set by Descartes. He had a lot of thought and a lot of time, I think about 10 years for thinking about this project and speaking with others and try to establish it and elaborate it and give this kind of philosophy. Perhaps it is a kind of meditation. Meditation, intellectual meditation on the truth. Yes. But Descartes said, what is the differences between in debates among philosophers? What is controversial in philosophy? He said that because some philosophers know something, but they didn't try to have a certain knowledge, very certain knowledge.
And a certain answer.
Yes. And because of that, based on uncertain knowledge, if you establish a philosophy the philosophy cannot be an ultimate philosophy, because in the future somebody can say, can show the weakness of the bases and foundations. Therefore, everything will change. Descartes said that, thought that what can we have a good certainty, ultimate certainty? He said that if I had a knowledge about the reality that cannot be changed, if
I have a knowledge
about reality, but cannot be changed in the future. In the future, therefore, it is very good foundation. He thought about his knowledge about the real world, about the sensitive things. You have knowledge about sense, by sense. And he saw that in some cases we have some knowledge about the reality by sense, but after some years we understand that that knowledge was not true, because we have a lot of errors. Yes, in our understanding from sense.
It can be compared with the theory of evolution, which was established at the beginning, but later it was ignored. Theory of evolution.
Evolution? No.
I mean, in this way.
No. It is. No. Don't hurry. Don't worry. It is very important to be patient. Yes. But therefore, we don't have any knowledge, a certain knowledge about reality. You say, no, it is water. Can some people say it is not water? If somebody said that it is not water, we say that you lie. That it is, we are certain that is water. But because of sense, in some cases, had some errors in understanding the reality. Because of that, perhaps in the future somebody showed that it is not water. Can have some doubt about the waterness of it.
Even among Muslims, we can see some philosophers.
Yes.
Thinking in this way.
Yes, Ghazali. Yes, I will continue. Perhaps, please come with Descartes, and we are a Cartesian people. Yes, and we have some sympathy of Descartes, because we want to understand Descartes. By sense, therefore, you cannot ascertain knowledge by sense. Yes? I have a certain knowledge, but it is possible that in the future, you can find some doubt about this knowledge. Therefore, I cannot confirm it. perhaps it can be changed. And therefore, he tried to have a kind of a method for finding the best certainty about the reality. Because of that, he said, if something can be dubbed, it cannot be, we cannot be accept it. It cannot be a good foundation for the philosophy. We must find a very certain truth that cannot be dubbed in the future. Yes, yes. By the moment. Therefore, he tried to explain and examine about the doubt. How we doubt about anything. And from where we have doubtness, for example, doubt. He tried to explain. He tried to give an extraordinary doubt about the reality. Why? Because he wanted that there will not be in the future some kind of doubt about this foundation. For the Descartes said, for example, we have a box of apples. These apples, some of these apples can be no.
Not healthy.
Not healthy. Yes. Kharaban. Yes. And
Broken.
but broken. Yeah, or something. Yes. What? You said? You said?
Damaged.
Damaged. Yes. Damaged and something. And if we want to have an apple without any damages, the best apple, we can separate some damaged apple from others, but perhaps some of these remained apples have some damages in them, and in the future I can understand it. For the moment, we say that it is very healthy, without any problem, but perhaps in it a lot of problems. Because I want to have a healthy apple and a box from this kind of apple, we can do like this. We can remove all of these apples from the box, and we try to put the good apple in the box. But we try to examine every kind of examination on this apple. If we had a certainty about the health and about the truth of this apple, we select it, and it can be a good apple.
Can we say he borrowed this kind of contemplating on Ghazali's thought?
Yeah,
Because Ghazali,
I want to say that come with me. Come with me. No. It is.
Ghazali was
Yes, yes, but after all of this, we compare Ghazali with Descartes. And by the moment, we are a Cartesian people. No, no, not Ghazali at all. No. Don't say about Ghazali. Don't say about it. It is very important to understand in philosophy, because if we don't have this kind of contemplation, we will refuse some of them, confuse in this matter. Therefore, the method of Descartes was, I will accept only those truths that I have total certainty about it, and the other truths that I don't have any certainty about me, I cannot select them. He said, it is water, but because it can be doubt about this matter, therefore I say I have no certainty about sensitive matters. Therefore, by the moment, sense cannot give us the certainty. The certainty. But we want a certain knowledge. We want a certain knowledge about reality. What's certain knowledge? How I can have a certain knowledge? He tried to doubt about something. For example, for the first step, he doubted about the sense data, sense information. Information came from sense. After that, he had another doubt. He said this doubt is about the sleeping or sleeping. In your sleeping, during your sleep, you believe that you are seeing, watching the truth. When you arise, you will understand that it is not true. Yes. Perhaps I say this is water, but perhaps I am asleep. I'm dreaming. Therefore, we cannot explain about everything in the world. Perhaps I am dreaming. Just like dreaming. In dreaming, I believe that I am understanding about truth, but after dream, after sleeping, I saw that it is not true. Therefore, perhaps everything is dream. And perhaps none of sense information are real. Yes?
It's acceptable, but
no. You said that because he wanted a knowledge that cannot be doubtable. Cannot be doubtable. It is the second step of doubt of Descartes. And in the third place, he had a very deep doubt about reality. He said by himself that we had some truth about reality. For example, mathematical truth. We know that 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. If your sense information is not true, but 2 plus 3 is 5. If you are dreaming, but 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. In dreaming is like this, yes? Oh, it is very important that the mathematics, the propositions of mathematics are unchangeable. But he said that I believe in God. God is the most powerful thing, and he can do everything. Yes? Perhaps, I'm doubting, perhaps 2 plus 3 is in the truth is equal to 6. But because God can have omnipotence, can do that, 2 plus 3 is equal to 6, but he showed me that 2 plus 3 is 5.
So doubting in God's knowledge now.
You what?
Doubting in God's knowledge
Yes.
somehow.
God's knowledge, I don't know.
God, he said God's knowledge.
No, not God's, no. Yes. But you cannot escape from this kind of doubt. Can you escape from this kind of everything you say 2 plus 3, or perhaps you are very important that 3 angles of triangles is equal to 180 degrees. Perhaps it is 200 degrees, but God has the power to show me that it is equal to 180 degrees. Why is he said like this? Because he tried to give every kind of doubt that we can imagine. If we can reject every kind of doubt, for example, this kind of doubt, from a truth, this truth will be certain truth and unchangeable. And we have total certainty about it. Yes? Therefore, he said that I must find something that cannot be rejected by sense information knowledge, by dreaming knowledge, by the power of God's knowledge. This kind of knowledge. If we have this kind of knowledge, it will be the last certain thing that I can have, and based on it, I can build the building of the philosophy. Yes? His method is doubting. Doubting is his method. By doubting, he tried to make ourselves certain about the last reality, last truth. In this matter, it said that I am in a very deep doubt. Therefore, I have no knowledge. Everything can be otherwise. Yes? He tried to find one thing that cannot be one thing cannot be adopted. He said, I thought about these matters and I adopted. Do I believe that I have adopted? Yes. When I adopt, I cannot adopt in adopting. When I adopt, during my adopt, I cannot adopt that I am adopting.
Yes, because he's feeling that he's adopting.
Adopting.
Okay.
Yes? But what's adopting? What is understanding of adopting? He said that when I adopting in everything, I am thinking. Without thinking, I didn't have anything. Therefore, the thought is the fundamental truth of the reality. But thought in my mind. And when adopting, I believe with total certainty that I am thinking. During my adopt, I am thinking. And if I say that I am thinking, therefore I am thinking. I is very important. Therefore, there is a truth that is I am. I am existing matter. And it is I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. Sum. Latin. I am thinking, therefore I am, and all I exist. He said that the fundamental basis of truth that we have total certainty, and they cannot be adopting, is the truth of me and the truth of thinking. Let us examine this kind of matter. For example, I am thinking. With the depth of God, power of God, can God فریب دادن چی؟ فریب. But yes? Deceive, yes sir. Excuse me. Deceive. Can God deceive me by His omnipotence that I found that I am thinking, but in reality, in truth, I am not thinking? Can God, for you believe that omnipotent, can God do something that in truth I don't exist, but I adopt in, I think about this matter? As I said, 2 plus 3 is 5, but is in reality is 6. But God tried to deceive us. From 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. like this. Can God deceive me? Can God deceive me that the truth of I am thinking is a false truth that it seems to me, and in reality there is another thing? He said, no. Therefore, this matter, I am thinking, therefore I exist, therefore I am, is a truth that cannot be doubted by sense information, by dream, and by deceit of God. Therefore, the best thing I found, the fundamental thing, foundation, is about myself. About the sense, about the real, the external world, I don't have any certainty. If I want to have some certainty about the real world, the external world, I must try to base my knowledge on the most important knowledge and certain knowledge that I exist. If I can do like this, I have a certainty about the reality, about the external world, based on I. It can be a truth in itself, and it is acceptable, and also it can be we have certainty in it. Yes. How we can do it? How we can do it? He tried, I say his ways to this matter, that I believe in myself, but please note that in my mind, I believe that I exist, and by the moment I don't have any certainty about other things. If by my mind I can prove that there is a God, there must be a God, based on I am exist, therefore we can have two things. One, I, the second one, God. And if I can argue about the existence of God, and I argue, if I can argue about that God is a perfect being, and because of that it will not or cannot deceive others. Therefore, if I say that it is water, it must be water, because God is the guarantee of the truth. Yes? The guarantee of truth. Therefore, for the first step, I come from myself. But in this matter, we doubt in our body. Yes? But we have certainty about the soul, which is I. Which is
because soul,
no.
He could, because he couldn't feel through senses, and his body he can see, but because his thought was built on
kind of presentation and knowledge.
not accepting the senses as a sort of
Yes.
certainty.
Yes.
This is a kind of paradox.
Right.
If we analyze his structure of thought,
What?
because except him, every thinker or everyone else says that the senses are source of knowledge. Senses
Yeah.
are sources of seeing or knowing the reality of things. But according to Descartes was the difference.
Difference, yes. I begin from myself, and from myself, from the reality of myself, that is thought, and from the reality of myself to reality of God. Perhaps you are tired, yes? Yes, yes. We can have some break.
No, just
Yeah, no problem.
Today we, from the morning, we went to Baheshti University.
Yes, I
Yes,
came,
yes.
I was
You can have
ready-
some break. No
I was
problem.
ready to vomit as I came.
Yeah. About the philosophy of Descartes. In his philosophy, the certainty is very important. It is very important. Certainty is very important. But for other philosophers after Descartes, certainty is not so much important. He tried to have a certain knowledge about the truth. In the first step, he had the truth. He had the knowledge about the truth of himself, I, and that